Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles podcast on a Monday afternoon. Oh, Wulf, Zach Berman, and just under the gun, we've got the Duff man himself, Fran Duffy. We're going to talk about the game yesterday, a heartbreaking loss for the Eagles. What matters, what doesn't really matter, what can sort of just be chalked up to a weird game, all that good stuff. And you know that it's presented by the good folks at Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Zach, how you doing? How were your travels yesterday? I know they were not as you anticipated.
Doing great. Thrilled to be here. Happy to be in studio with both of you guys. Yeah, long day. You're feeling it today. It was, I think, a 17-hour workday yesterday, but it doesn't feel like work when you're covering the Eagles, doing the show.
If you're going to throw out there 17 hours, you're looking for some kind of credit.
I'm not looking for credit. No, you said, it was a long day. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But, no.
But you count the commute as the workday? Because I feel like the commute's doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Do you think people, when they're commuting to work, count the commute?
All right, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole here. Sure. So I wasn't, those 6 hours in the car, take those out. Okay. So we're down to 11.
Okay.
Now, watching the game, does that count as a work day? So now we're down to 8.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, before the game, when you're watching warm-ups, does that count as a work day?
For you, that was like 15 minutes yesterday.
True. And then when you're, I don't know, but when you're ruminating about what to write, does that count? So,
Okay.
So the actual time on task of doing a show, doing a pregame show, postgame show, the online clip, and then transcribing and writing. I probably only work 3 hours. How about that? Is that better?
Okay, easy day at the office.
Easy day at the office.
At least you're being honest.
Yes.
Fran, how you doing?
Great.
You had a tough day, I've heard.
Yeah, it was a hell of a day, but we're here. It's gonna be a good show. A lot to go.
You want to talk about it?
I think I want to just take a minute, just gather myself. Yes. But I went through the film. Had a trip to the auto mechanic this morning. It was good. Yeah.
Sorry.
Went out this morning. Both back tires flat.
Not good.
Tough one.
I'm sorry.
Had they been leaking air already?
They were leaking air a little bit.
Okay.
So I went. It was like, fill them up.
Yeah.
Yeah. No dice. It was. It was.
Did you have to get 2 new tires?
2 new tires in the back.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Better the back than the front.
Animal. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
They probably put the new tires in the front.
The front, the front ones I replaced a few months ago. The front ones were good.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
Yeah, exactly right. It's been, so it's been a day.
That's your motto, right? Better in the back than the front?
As soon as you said it, I was like, there's no way that is not going to be
Just want to give a quick update to everyone watching here. The Eagles-Cowboys game has been moved to 1 o'clock on Sunday. So if you've been planning for that 4 o'clock game, you wanted a Sunday morning free, that is not the case. The Eagles game's at 1 o'clock. And it is a Kelly Green game. So the Eagles could potentially clinch the NFC East wearing the Kelly Green jerseys.
All right. Well, before we get into the review from yesterday, let's talk about what is actually now at stake for the Eagles.
Yep.
Shout out to Deniz, as always, for breaking this down. If the Eagles are going to get the number 1 seed, it is not impossible. They obviously have to win their final 2 games, and then they need the exact course of events for these other 3 games. They need Green Bay to beat Minnesota next week at Minnesota. They need San Francisco to beat Detroit at home in San Francisco. And then they would need Minnesota in Week 18 at Detroit, a game that would be for the division. They need Minnesota to win that game. So because the Eagles lost to the Commanders yesterday, and that was not a common game, that sort of flipped the tiebreaker. So it's not impossible, but it's certainly unlikely. And then on the other side, any win in the final 2 games for the Eagles locks them into the 2 seed. So does any Commanders loss, or rather locks them into the NFC East championship. And then assuming those other things don't happen, they would be the 2 seed. And then it is possible that if the Eagles lose both of their final 2 games and Washington wins the final 2, that the Eagles would drop all the way down to the 6 or 7. Unlikely.
Unlikely. I think it's reasonable to start planning for the 2 seed. Now, Dallas looked better last night, so you never know. I have a hard time seeing the Eagles losing to the Giants in Week 18.
Well, I mean, that Giants team is going to be tanking.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
So I think the 2 seed is really where to look for the Eagles. And I think the question is going to become if the Eagles do beat Dallas this weekend, which, as I said, is not a given the way Dallas looked Tampa Bay last night. Now, I had that game on in the corner of my eye when I was writing. So does that not count as work then? Because you're also watching the game when you're writing. So
I mean, listen, ask the people in the chat if they are watching, if they're working, but they're watching a football game, would their boss be happy about that? I don't know.
Yeah. So then really probably worked for 30 minutes last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dallas is going to be tougher than their record suggests. That said, I think the big question is if the Eagles do beat the Cowboys on Sunday, how do they approach Week 18? My guess is that they would back off players. But the drama that's going to be unfolding that week is if Saquon has a big game this week and he's like 160 yards out, what do you do?
This to me, that's very easy. You sit him.
You sit him.
It's like it's almost childish to think about that. It would be worth chasing that record in those.
I think it's a little. I think childish is a stretch there. It's a chance for history, and it's not like him running on Week 18 does not mean he won't. Now there's the risk of injury.
Yeah.
You want rest, but that's within the course of a season, right? So I don't object to that too much.
Yeah,
I still think they would back off.
Yeah, I mean, what is the point of the season for Saquon Barkley? Is it to get the record, or is it for this team to try to get to the Super Bowl?
But the two things aren't mutually exclusive, is my point.
Well, yeah, but you have to prioritize one of the other, and if you're prioritizing one, it would mean sitting. Don't you think? I can see let's say he runs for 100 yards next week, and he needs like 35 yards just to reach 2,000.
Sure.
I could see them playing in the first half because
like
especially
DeVonta in 2020,
especially if Jalen Hurts misses this next game with the concussion, I would expect that the Eagles would want Jalen Hurts to play a quarter in Week 18 or something like that.
To me, I think judging by the way that they've approached these in the past, you mentioned like the DeVonta from a couple of years ago. I feel like if everybody's sitting, like if the idea is, all right, it's a situation where we would sit everybody, then yeah, obviously like Saquon will be out. If it's something where it's like we were to give him extra rest compared to everybody else, I think Saquon would stay in to try and go for it. That would be my guess.
Well, yeah, we also saw what happened yesterday when they had to run Saquon Barkley, without Jalen Hurts or with the offensive line not playing quite as well. So that's the other thing. But also, you can't sit everybody, right? That's just the roster limitations. You got to prioritize it. But I don't think there's any doubt that if the Eagles are locked into the 2 seed entering Week 18, given the fact that they haven't had a bye since Week 5, they're gonna sit everybody they can.
I don't think the Eagles would mind if Saquon gets like 65 yards next week in a winning effort, and that number for Week 18 is pretty unrealistic.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yep. You don't want it to be like he's 120 yards away and you sat him.
I don't know. I think that's fine. It's a storytelling of the guy cares more about the team than he does about his own personal records. Sure. Also, he's got an extra game, so like it's not like he's really breaking the same record. I don't know. It's like who? Maybe I'm being too pessimistic, but who cares?
Well, I think the offensive linemen care.
I think they care, but it would be nice to get to 2,000.
Sure. 2,000. Okay.
I think 2,000 is a fun little
it's a good
benchmark
compromise
for them.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, like chasing the Dickerson record, if it's going to mean he needs 150 yards in Week 18 when he's been playing every single game and you got the playoffs to come, who are we kidding? It would be insane.
I wouldn't go that far, but I don't think that's good. I think they would sit him.
Okay. Now we're going to get to all the film review and all that stuff. But from a moving forward perspective, do you have any expectation for what this week is going to be like for Jalen Hurts and the Eagles quarterback position?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge for the Eagles here because I imagine Jalen's going to be pushing the play. The problem is if you're cleared as a quarterback like let's say this concussion's mild, and I don't know that to be the case, but let's say he's cleared Friday, which is usually the earliest someone's cleared. You haven't had a full practice. You haven't had a practice with him, like doing his full allotment of snaps. You're putting a game plan together today and tomorrow. That's what the coaches do, Monday, Tuesday. I imagine they'll have one game plan for Kenny Pickett, one game plan for Jalen Hurts.
Do we have insight on the rib X-rays?
So that's
Kenny
another
Pickett
good
had?
question. Yeah, he's getting further testing today.
Okay, because I mean, listen, we can sort of joke about the Tanner McKee thing. Like he like I do think that he's better than Kenny Pickett. Obviously, the Eagles don't think that right now, but I do think that I would rather have Tanner McKee play than Kenny Pickett playing with broken ribs.
Sure.
Right.
Now, this is the thing too: is the Eagles don't have a fourth quarterback on the roster.
Right.
So you could have a situation where McKee's your starter and Pickett's your backup because Pickett has the ribs injury.
Right.
But you're not going to sign someone off the street and have him as your number 2 quarterback unless like Kenny Pickett can't play. So,
but I think I would choose McKee over an injured Pickett. Don't you think?
I think you're speaking from your perspective of someone who thought McKee outplayed Pickett this season. I don't know that that's.
I
just don't think that's the way it works. I don't think you.
I don't think they're going to switch. I don't think they're going to watch this tape and say, okay, now Tanner McKee is our number 3 quarterback. They've made that decision that Kenny Pickett is their number 2.
Yes.
But if you're factoring in one guy would be playing through like really, really a bad rib injury, then I think you would flip it. Am I crazy, Fran?
No, and I think that the other part of it too is like we know like this is what the pecking order is, right? That Kenny Pickett's been the number 2 all season long. I don't know that everybody in that building necessarily. Oh, everybody says, "Oh yeah, Pickett is number 2 and McKee is number 3." We've said from the jump that if something happened to Jalen Hurts where he was going to miss multiple games, it would probably be McKee that would be that guy. Like
we've said that. Do you think they think that?
I think
there are some people in the building.
I agree, but do you think the person who's making that decision thinks that?
I think it would be Pickett, but it would in that situation as we talked about, it would have been a short leash for Pickett. Yeah. If Kenny Pickett were healthy, I think he would be, and Jalen Hurts were declared out.
Right.
Pickett would get to start this week.
Correct.
But I think if you have to think about, first of all, you're putting a game plan together, and if you're not even sure that this guy can make it through a game because he's got rib injuries, I think you would move forward with the guy who is close and healthy.
So let's play this hypothetical real quick, okay? What if the Eagles and Lions were competing for the number 1 seed, okay? The Eagles were playing all out week 18. Jalen Hurts suffered a concussion in week 18. Who would start the playoff game? Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee?
Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett.
So that's the guy you want to play.
Not if he has broken ribs.
No, I understand, but if he can't play, so my point is if he's healthy enough to play,
but
then he'll be your quarterback.
There's a difference between he's healthy and he's injured. And I would even if you would rather have him than McKee, you wouldn't rather have an injured him than McKee. And if you're thinking that like one hit's going to knock him out of the game, wouldn't you just want to put the game plan together for Tanner McKee?
Well, that's a valid point there, and I think that's certainly worth pursuing. I don't know the nature of Pickett's injury. I know he underwent X-rays after the game, further testing today. It's going to be a fascinating subplot for the Eagles. If there's doubt now, where I agree with both of you, is if there's any doubt right now about Kenny Pickett, then what I would do is I would put this game plan together for Tanner McKee. And I would say, Kenny, like, you're our number 2, but we don't know. We can't go into the week with 2 questionable quarterbacks. So we have to go into the week with I'm not saying that based on, like, if Kenny Pickett's healthy enough to be the starting quarterback today, then you put a game plan together for Kenny Pickett. I'm not saying Kenny Pickett has injured ribs, so therefore I'm putting McKee in there. I'm saying if there's question that McKee that Pickett won't be able to go Sunday, then you go into this week with McKee as your guy.
I think you're both saying the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're both saying the same thing.
I thought you were saying you would rather have McKee than like a 50% or 70% Kenny Pickett.
Like I think he is saying that, but I think he's saying both things.
Yes.
But yes,
you don't say.
But I mean, as you told us in the locker room, AJ Brown's saying they're guessing out there. He hasn't worked.
He
with
said
Kenny
rolling
Pickett.
dice.
And so if Kenny Pickett can't practice on Wednesday, and Tanner McKee has to be the practice quarterback, then I would want him to be the quarterback.
And the other interesting thing here too is that the Eagles schedule, from my
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Eagles' schedule is flip-flopped this week, in that my guess is that Tuesday will be like a normal Wednesday. Typically, the players are off on Tuesday. I'm expecting the Eagles to be in on Tuesday, have a walkthrough Tuesday, and then Wednesday would be a day with their families for Christmas.
Interesting.
Their scheduled day off. Now, perhaps they changed that.
I know
with
it's possible that this Jalen Hurts injury has ruined Christmas for the Eagles families.
But because they've kind of been shifting to these walkthroughs on Wednesday, so they can go with a walk. So they're in today for corrections. Tomorrow, my guess is they were going to do a walkthrough. Then Wednesday was Christmas Day. Then Thursday they're back for this intense practice. Based on that, you need to know Tuesday what your approach is.
And
here.
if you have a different quarterback, you might not even want to do a walkthrough. You might want to make Tuesday an actual practice, or
but I don't think the guys.
elevated.
Yeah, they're not going to want they're not going to want the guys running around on Tuesday.
Right, but you're going to want.
Sure.
You're going to want some work with extra work with whoever the quarterback's going to be, right?
It's a tough week.
It's a very this is tough.
It's a tough week, and the challenge here.
This is well. I'll tell you what, though. All the talk about like what does Nick Sirianni do? This is a very interesting week.
Great point.
From a head coach perspective.
Yep.
Great point. And this is like you. It's like the conversation with Governor Shapiro last week, where you're trying to land a plane, right? Like you're the head coach. You get paid not just for the calm. You get paid more for the chaos than the calm times, right? How do you navigate the chaos? There's going to be some interesting decisions. Now, of course, Howie Roseman's involved in this decision. Jeffrey Lurie, his input is interesting. The variable here that can't be understated is that a concussion takes all the decision making out of the team's hands. In that, if Jalen Hurts was playing through a shoulder injury or an ankle injury, I think he would say, "I'm Jalen Hurts. I want to play. Let me play." And you can find ways around that. A concussion, the player can't get on the field until he gets the independent clearance, and that's completely out of the team's hands. So that's why I'm saying, even if Jalen gets cleared on Friday or Saturday, you went through a week of practice without knowing whether he'd be cleared or not.
Pretty fascinating.
This is yeah. I think you framed it well. This is a big Nick Sirianni week.
Yeah, and to talk about that, we'll get to how they did offensively yesterday and the plan they put together, having been surprised midstream by Pickett being the quarterback. And so we will get to all of that just after this commercial break. Well, there are presenting sponsors for a reason. Bet365, baby. Never ordinary. Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream over 780,000 events each year with early payout offers across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and MLB. Bet365 pioneered live in-game betting, and today they offer the widest range of games and markets available for live in-game betting across 78 sports. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Use the code PHLY365 to sign up, deposit $10, and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. What's the Monday nighter tonight?
It is
Packers.
Packers Saints.
Packers Saints.
Spencer Rattler was in the freezer.
Did he die?
No. We'll get to that after. Finish the ad read, then I'll tell you.
Wow, what a suspense.
What a
Is
tease,
he alive? Is Spencer Rattler alive? Nobody knows.
They had him in a meat freezer preparing for Lambeau Field.
Did they take him out?
Finish the ad read, then I'll tell you.
It's like the end of Goodfellas.
Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $150 in bonus bets when you bet $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER.
Let me tell everyone about our friends at TrueMark Financial Credit Union because they have something going on now that's close to my heart. They are really trying to teach financial responsibility and financial literacy to our children. We all know how hard it is to win without proper coaching. If you have kids, TrueMark is the ultimate playbook for teaching financial responsibility with a free Greenlight account. The Greenlight app is changing the game, helping kids and teens learn how to earn, save, and spend wisely. They can set up savings goals, track their spending, and even get an allowance. All right there in the Greenlight app. And here's the really cool part. Each kid gets their own debit card so they can make purchases and learn real-world money skills while you stay in control from your phone. You get peace of mind, and they get the freedom to make smart decisions with their money. It's like coaching your kids through their very own financial game. And for TrueMark Financial members, it is free. With the holidays right around the corner, now is the perfect time to introduce your kids to Greenlight. Got signed up today? Visit TrueMark.com/Greenlight for more information.
All right, Fran.
Wait, so just let me tell you about the freezer, so people aren't concerned. Okay, there's a walk-in freezer. What?
Is he alive?
He's alive.
Okay.
There's a walk-in freezer that the Saints have to prepare Spencer Rattler for Monday night's game. What quarterbacks coach Andrew Janocko did was took Rattler and the other Saints quarterbacks and had them in the walk-in freezer to run through their plays, to prepare for the plays in cold weather.
Great coaching.
Surprised you haven't seen the storyline.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah. If you Google Spencer Rattler right now, the first thing that comes up is freezer.
That's your meat locker Google alert?
No. I just read about the NFL. It's my job. It's part of those 17 hours.
Okay. As you're driving. Okay. Fran, let's you want to talk about the offense first?
I feel like I have more on the offense. So, yeah, we can do offense first.
Let's talk about the offense first. I mean, this is a weird game. And
yes.
I was on the All-City NFL show.
Flex.
Huge flex, the biggest. And they were like, what is the level of consternation from Eagles fans about this loss? Like, Bo Brack's like he saw like all these angry Eagles fans like the season's over. And I don't feel like that's the sense.
I'm not feeling that at all.
I get at all. I mean, this is like you lost your quarterback in the first quarter, but it's not a season-ending injury. He's going to be back at some point. It's just such a weird game. And we'll get to whether the stuff on defense is something to actually be concerned about. But offensively, assuming that Kenny Pickett's not the guy who's going to be the quarterback in the playoffs, is what from this game is actually concerning to you?
Good question.
There wasn't a ton.
Okay.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton that's like big picture concerning. That was actually one of the questions on the Discord that I did put in one of the screen grabs. But I think when you look at this, ultimately it was okay. You lose your quarterback. Defensively, a group that's been an A+ throughout the majority of this season was not an A+ in this game.
No.
The run game has been an A+ all season, was not an A+ in this game. The offensive line was not an A+ in this game. DeVonta Smith drops that ball late. Saquon Barkley drops that ball late. Quinyon Mitchell, who's been nails, gives up that long play touchdown. Like, you had all of these different things, and the Eagles still nearly won the game. Like, I think it's just one of those where you just kind of say, all right, like, you didn't bring your best game and you lose.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there was nothing like big picture. I was like, oh, like this is a huge concern. I feel differently about this Eagles team going into the postseason than I did 36 hours ago.
All right, well, let's talk about Pickett, and not just the way that Pickett himself played, but the way that they structured the offense once Pickett went into the game. Just by the numbers, in terms of how he did perform, by success rate, this was the worst of the 15 quarterback games this season for an Eagle.
Yep.
By EPA per dropback, it was 12th of 15. By air yards per pass attempt, it was right in the middle. It was 7th. By net yards per attempt, it was 13th. So it was not a good performance. However, they didn't. What did they do to support him?
They honestly ran a lot of the same plays that we've come to see from them in the past. I don't think they changed up what they were doing from a drop back standpoint going into this. There was one play in particular that I would say, oh, this was a really bad turn down from Kenny Pickett, and he didn't cut it loose. He should have cut it loose. We could actually pull that play to start. Andrew, if you could pull Pickett turn down. This was a play that we've seen the Eagles run numerous times over the course of the season, and this comes with the question. Of course, I didn't download these clips, so help me out with the who is the Discord user from the diehards.
Oh, I actually can't see that.
Yeah. Oh, so you're right.
Philly Dan and Jax.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's Andrew Frazier, our producer today. Thank you.
Beautiful
Andrew.
job. Thank you, Andrew. So
You can read, Andrew.
No, when there's a new voice on the show, we should tell the listeners who that new voice is.
Well, so basically, this is a play where the Eagles, again, they've run this a number of times. We've actually covered it on the show a number of times, where it's called wrap, where at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see A.J. Brown is at the very bottom. This is the first shot right before the play. Andrew, if you go to the next one, you could see that Washington is in a blitz look. The two linebackers sugaring the A gaps there, but they fall out of
that
this.
Expression.
They sprinkle a little sugar on the A gap. They fall out of this and they get into cover two. And when they get into cover two, what you've got now is that he's going to have to kind of read this out, Kenny. And what I like is that the Eagles anticipated that this was going to be cover two, and they had a route concept call to beat it. The bottom of the screen, you see Grant Calcaterra. He's running the little hitch route. A.J. Brown is right on the 40-yard line, getting ready to break inside. You can see the middle linebacker that's running in the middle of the field. You see that's Frankie Louvu. The number 4 is facing us. It's turned away from A.J. Brown. So this is that cover two beater we've talked about numerous times here this year. The Eagles run this against cover two teams often, and it's been one of their go-to route concepts. Andrew, if you pull up the next shot, you can see that A.J. Brown turns inside. That's going to be the throw for Kenny Pickett. But by this point, he has already started to break the pocket. This was, I would say, his worst turn down of the afternoon. And it was a bad one, but it wasn't like it was a bad turn down. But this was really the only one where I was like, He really left meat on the bone here on this play. It was 3rd and 8. He shouldn't have left the pocket. He ends up rolling to his right and throwing this away. Now, this also goes hand in hand with one of the plays that I thought was just outstanding from an individual effort in this game. Andrew, if you go to the next shot, again, you got the sprinkle the sugar on the A-gaps here. You got both linebackers standing over Cam Jurgens. Now, we've talked about how you block this look up numerous times in the past, and 99 times out of 100, what you see teams do is it's going to be up to the center and the running back to block those two linebackers standing up over Jurgens, right? So Jurgens would block the guy to the right typically, and the running back would block the one to the left. The rest of the offensive line would handle the rest of the 4 defensive linemen down on the line of scrimmage. And so now the what you see here from Cam Jurgens is that as the ball snapped, and Andrew, if you would go to the next shot, Jurgens snaps this ball, and his guy, number 4, Louvu, he drops out because he's going to be that middle of the field defender in Tampa 2. Gainwell steps up to take on Bobby Wagner, but it's not like Cam Jurgens looks at this and he's like, all right, I guess I'll block the defensive tackle. His eyes immediately go to the most dangerous blitzer that is going to be on Pickett, and that is actually the safety, Jeremy Chin, all the way over on the right side. Jeremy Chin is blitzing off the right side, a positionless player that some people on the desk really, really enjoy. But Jeremy Chin is coming as a blitzer off the right side. Jurgens does an unbelievable job. Andrew, if you go to the last shot, outstanding range. This is an uncommon block from an offensive lineman, and certainly from a center, to have that kind of range to make that block so cleanly, because that pocket is still clean. You can see Pickett, who's reading this. That's the throw. He should have been able to step right into this and deliver this to A.J. Brown on the in cut. It would have gone for a first down on 3rd and long, but he ends up rolling the pocket here and throwing this away. So I would say that was probably the most egregious turn down from Pickett on the night. Obviously, he had the interception, which we'll get into. He had some underthrows, but that was the one where I was like, he would want that one back.
Okay, well, take us through the other Pickett plays. So the interception, I guess.
Yeah, we'll go to the interception.
We talked about this on the watch along.
We did, yes.
And I think you nailed it right as it happened. That Louvu sort of baits him into it.
Yeah, and this goes into the idea of the offense being a little bit predictable, as we talked about on the watch along as well yesterday. Andrew, if you pull up just Louvu INT. Basically what you get here, and this is a shout out to Michael B in the Discord, become a diehard, so you can suggest some of these plays. But Michael B asked about this play, just overall, talking about like any big concerns moving forward. Guys, this has been like a few weeks in a row now where I feel like we're looking at defensive players like tipping plays, seeing what's coming in the pass game, reading plays and jumping routes. We are getting to that point in the season where it's, there's plenty of tape out there for every offense, and so defenses are going to have a little bit of a beat on it. But this is just another one where it's kind of showed up. So basically what you're going to get here from the Eagles is that Grant Calcaterra is lined up to the offense's right. He's going to run to the flat, and then you're going to get a hitch route here from A.J. Brown right down the hash mark. And Andrew, if you go to the next shot, you can see Frankie Louvu. He is looks like he's running with Calcaterra towards the bottom of the screen. So Calcaterra releases, and he's releasing to the flat. the linebackers running with them. That should open up the pass lane right down the hash mark for the quarterback, for Pickett, to be able to deliver this throw. But when he goes to let this ball go, Frankie Louvu puts his left foot in the ground. Andrew, go to the next shot. Thank you. Puts his left foot in the ground and falls right back into the pass lane, steps right in front of it for an interception. He baited Kenny Pickett into this throw. He knew that the route concept was coming. It wasn't the only time that we saw this in the course of the game, where there was another play of the Cleveland Farrell sack.
Okay.
Right before the play, you could see, and there was like communication going on between Jordan Mailata and the tight ends to his side. He had both Uzama and Grant Calcaterra lined up next to him, Jordan, and you could see that they're kind of talking things through. Cleveland Farrell's just sitting there and immediately turns around. And he's like, this is play action, and goes and points upfield like, I'm going upfield, and just blows by Calcaterra at the snap and gets a sack fumble. Like, teams are picking up on some things, and it's a little concerning. There's another play I wanted to show as well. Let me make sure. Yeah, Andrew, can you pull up Banjo Beater? We spent like 10 minutes last week talking about the Banjo Beater. Yeah, so they scored on this play in the low red zone twice each of the last 2 weeks. So they're like, all right, let's go for it again.
Okay.
So we're sitting here on this play, and it's the same concept we saw. DeVonta Smith is number 3 receiver.
Silly.
He's running the corner out. You've got the 2 receivers on the outside. They're running the little pick play, and Kenny Pickett drops back, and he wants to be able to deliver this downfield. By the way, shout out to REP asking for some of these. He asked about just like the overall play calling. What was Washington doing to kind of dial into some of these plays? And I thought that applied to this play. But when you look at Pickett, he drops back. And Andrew, if you go to the next play, you can see that the corner route is completely taken away. The pick play, like AJ is starting to break open, but by this point, Kenny's already getting throttled here by the pass rush. And so now
is this the one when he blows the protection?
1,000%. Okay. So Andrew, if you go to the next shot here, we get into this is the same sugar in the A gap look here from Washington. Now here's the difference, and I picked this freeze frame specifically because, and we don't know. I'd be interested to know if when Jalen Hurts goes out, does Cam Jurgens take over protection calls?
That's a good question.
Or if Pickett continue with the protection call?
Sure, they'll be very forthcoming about that this week.
I'm sure. But Saquon Barkley is in the backfield, and you could see him looking at Kenny like, are you sure this is what we're doing? Because you have both linebackers up, and again, 99% of the time, when you have this kind of look, it's going to be up to the center and the running back to block those 2 players. Now, if you don't do that, if the running back is not going to block those linebackers over the middle, then that means you are going to see a full slide protection where you're going to get all 5 defense or offensive linemen going in one direction, and you're going to cut one of the defensive ends loose. So basically, they're going to slide everybody to our right, and the defensive end to our left, number 6 there, Dante Fowler, he is going to be unblocked. That's Kenny Pickett's guy. So basically, Barkley, and I'm just assuming here, but it's like hey, are you sure this is what you want? Because if it is, then you got to make sure you're going to throw hot here because the ball, Fowler's going to get here fast.
Like a second grade teacher, like, are you sure
this is what you go? Yeah. So look, and this is an answer. This is things people do. But if you are going to do it, then the ball has to come out fast because you're leaving Dante Fowler, who leads their team in sacks, leads their team in pressures. You're leaving him unblocked. That ball's got to come out fast. Pickett steps back. The rub route takes a little bit longer to progress than he likes. Andrew, if you go to the next shot here, you can see Fowler gets off the ball. They leave him unblocked. All the other 5 are taken care of, but he holds on to the ball. Andrew, go to the last shot. He holds on to the ball, and Fowler ends up getting home for the sack. So the protection rules were messy in terms of the protection call, and the play on the backside was predictable, right? So you ran that same call in the red zone. That's now 3 weeks in a row. And Washington was all over. That safety jumped that corner route that DeVonta was running. And you would say that the pick play was there, but since it took a tick late to develop, then Kenny's got to hold on to the ball. It doesn't get the ball out fast enough for Fowler to get home for the sack.
I mean, running that particular play, because we have talked about it in the red zone a 3rd straight week, is a little bit like, what are we doing here to me? But I do want to be fair that, like, when you get surprised in the middle of a game with your backup quarterback coming in, it does make sense that you sort of have to go to your staple plays.
Yeah, yes and no. I know we don't know. We don't know if that was in the game plan for this week or not. It's possible that it was. It's possible that it wasn't. To your point, it might be like, hey, like this is what we've been running. Like let's run to it. That's a good question, but That is one little thing when you ask like big picture, like, is there anything? This is the one thing I'm like, man, we're now just seeing this become a theme now in recent.
Well, this is like if this had been if that was Jalen Hurts and they were running it a third straight week, then we'd be like, what is going on
about it? Yeah.
Like that's not good enough.
Yeah.
But I kind of lean towards wanting to give them a break a little bit. Now, listen, like this is what they get paid for.
Sure.
These are the difficult problems they have to solve. But I can understand the urge if you have your backup thrown in. Like, what are the plays that we know that he has run in practice?
Right.
Like, this is okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I do think it's worth reemphasizing this because there's a misconception, I think, among some of the public is that the backup quarterbacks don't get reps in practice during the week, right? They play scout team. And you saw this with Nick Foles a few years ago. You saw this with Gardner-Minshew. Training camp practices, which like we cover, we're there the whole time. That's a lot different where you're cycling year ones, you're cycling year twos. Once you get to the season, it's the starters during practice and the rotational guys. The backup quarterback, it's not like we're just going to rotate you in and get you the work. So when like A.J. Brown says, I haven't played with Kenny Pickett, that's that because going back to training camp was the last time he would be catching balls from Pickett.
And even then, he wouldn't have. Like they don't rotate.
Yeah.
They don't rotate the quarterbacks with the starters.
Only in just like team drills,
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, individual drills rather.
I do want to close the loop on the discussion too about like being predictable. They did throw in one little change up.
Okay.
So it was a third down. The third down where AJ was tackled short of the sticks by Lattimore. They ran a fake mesh play. Andrew, if you go to just fake mesh, where and they ran mesh in this game once or twice on third down. I think once with Hurts in the game and once without Hurts in the game. But they also ran a fake one where basically you could see here that A.J. Brown is coming in motion towards the bottom of the screen. You can see him kind of in the backfield there. Marshawn Lattimore follows him across the formation. Andrew, you go to the next shot. A.J. Brown, after coming in motion, is going to start running towards the right. And you could see, like, if they had, ironically enough, if they had just run mesh, this probably goes for a first down. Lattimore is not going to catch him here. It's 3rd and 4. I think it's 3rd and 5. It's 3rd and 5. AJ probably gets the first down on this play. Washington blitzes, so it's man coverage with no middle of the field linebacker there. So he's running scot-free into the open field. But they run the little change up here where AJ's going to actually put his foot in the ground and break back towards the sideline. And Andrew, if you go to the next shot, you can see like AJ he's breaking back towards the side. Lattimore just reads this really, really well. Ends up making the tackle. If you go to the last shot, Andrew, you can see he makes the tackle short of the stick. So a great corner makes a great play. The play call, like I get that it was good intentions. The execution just wasn't there ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is what is a concern is if this Commanders team does have a beat on what they want to do on offense, and these teams are playing again in 3 weeks, like you got to really get to the drawing board and figure out a way to surprise them.
Right.
Sign of a good coaching staff.
And a veteran team, an older team. They went out and signed a bunch of vets. That has shown up.
So your overall takeaway from the Kenny Pickett experience?
Overall takeaway from Kenny Pickett, they didn't lose the game directly because of Kenny Pickett. Obviously, you'd rather have Jalen Hurts.
That's the thing about like this game. It's like everybody has. There's a big reason that they lost was everybody. Like everybody shares this loss.
And like I think there's this whole big thing of like I've heard it on a couple of podcasts, even just like from yesterday, like national stuff, where it was like, oh, like you really saw the difference between Jalen Hurts and Kenny Pickett. Oh, yeah. Yes. So you saw a difference between Jalen Hurts, who was a starting quarterback, a top 15 quarterback in football, versus like a middle of the road backup quarterback. If you want to say even that might even be generous to say like, okay, like there is a difference there. Most teams, that's what it would look like when you're backup quarterback.
And of course, yes, if DeVonta catches the ball, they win the game. And
no question.
Kenny when it mattered, he made the throw that mattered.
But the one thing I would add to that, and I wrote about this on allphly.com, is what jumped out to me in the locker room, because I agree with you, like there's obviously a difference between QB1 and QB2, and that if you go back to December 2017, you can read some things about like Nick Foles.
Yeah.
But what I think what was clear, and I heard this in the locker room, was how much of the offense is tailored to Jalen Hurts. That this is that Hurts makes the offense function based on the threat he brings to the running game. Like Saquon Barkley said, a lot of their running game is around Jalen Hurts. You talk about, and I heard you guys talk about this on the show, about like the argument for having Kelsey make the calls in the past. Is that when the quarterbacks
Potentially,
yeah. No,
I mean, you don't want to put your game,
Sure.
your entire strategy around the possibility that you might lose your quarterback.
Yes. But so much of what they do, so much of how this offense is designed, and it goes back to the conversations we were having back in September when it was, is this Nick Sirianni's offense? Is this Kellen Moore's offense? And we kept saying, well, it's Jalen Hurts' offense. And I think you see that more. And actually, one thing Kenny Pickett said after the game is this is the first time that Kellen Moore called a game with him in there. And so if he's out there, like, they can figure things out. So the offense really is built to maximize Jalen Hurts.
Well, it's an interesting talking point because the super chat that we have brings up an interesting point that we have talked about in the past, and that is from Drew. Why doesn't Howie sign or draft quarterbacks that have the same play style as Jalen, so the game plan doesn't need to change so much? And so if the offense is built around Jalen Hurts' skill set, wouldn't you want his backups to be of a similar skill set? The Eagles have, I mean, they tried that sort of with Marcus Mariota.
You literally asked Sirianni this at the owners' meetings 2 years ago. I remember you asking the question.
Well, I don't. And what did he say? You got a great memory.
Well, you ask good questions.
Well, forget them, I guess.
Best host in the city.
So, I would love best questions in the city, but best host in the city.
Best host in the city.
Oh,
worst memory in the city.
Yeah, best host in the city. Best host in the city. He said that.
Wait, so who do you think does ask the best questions in the city?
I was insinuating, I think.
No. Who asks the best questions in the city? I don't know. I would have to go through all the Phillies press conferences and Flyers press conferences and
Which
Sixers press conferences to know the answer to that question.
Okay.
Yes.
So what did Nick say when I asked him that question?
Nick says he thinks that's overrated.
Mm-hmm.
That you just want the best quarterback, and then if you have to go to that guy, you can figure it out. He said there are like staple plays that are consistent no matter who the quarterback is. He understands why that question comes up about the mobility when they signed Mariota, but he's like, you just look for the best quarterback.
I agree with that. I think it like if you have guys graded equally, maybe the tie goes to the guy who has more of a similar skill set, but I do think you would rather have the better player. And honestly, like this Kenny Pickett performance, it is a reflection of the trade that the Eagles made. And if he is just a middle of the road backup quarterback, as you described him, Fran, that's not good enough for what they traded for him. Like they traded for him to be a starting caliber backup quarterback. And that is not the way that they trusted him in this game. And that's not the way that he played. Yeah. Now, listen, it's one game. Nick Foles, when he was thrown in, did not have a good performance. Like if we saw him play into the playoffs, it might be different. But I mean, they went out and were aggressive in getting him with the idea being that in a situation exactly like this, when the stakes are high, he could be a high performer for them, and he wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be harsh, but.
Right. Yeah. I think that, again, I don't think he was good. I don't think he was like, but I also don't think he was like terrible in the game either.
Yeah, he didn't kill him.
I think he was like middle of the road. He was average.
Yeah.
Like,
Fran brings up, or he brought up a good point in the back and forth with Jamie yesterday about Pickett's performance. If you haven't checked out the postgame show, I recommend everyone do that. Like the two pass interferences, those are hidden yardage there. So that's 61 yards right there. You can add to it. The Saquon drop, the Smith drop. Now, this works both ways. Like DeVonta and AJ made tough catches on passes that weren't well thrown, that could have been incompletions, right? So you can only be judged based on what happened on the field. No, about the pass interferences?
The PIs. I think
Fran said that.
We may have both said
Fran
that.
definitely said that about the pass
interferences.
Fran said that about the pass interferences. I remember because Jamie was really down on the performance.
I said it too.
What's that? Okay. Not the best listener in the city. How about that? But yeah, that the numbers could look different, and certainly the narrative of Kenny Pickett's game is different. If DeVonta makes that catch, the conversation is Kenny Pickett came in and helped preserve a win in against a tough team. They were down 28-27. They drive down for the field goal. But you're only judged based on the plays that happen.
Okay. We also need to talk about what happened to the running game and some of the people who may have been responsible for that, which we will do just after this. At Ace Hardware Home Services, whenever we get ready for the next job, we remember what to bring. You know what that is? Experience. Ace Hardware Home Services, we're bringing local plumbers and techs that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installations and upgrades. They bring understanding. We listen to your goals, and the job isn't completed until you are satisfied. And we also bring helpful to your home so you can spend more of your time on the projects that really matter. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at www.acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project.
And it's the holiday season, which means money
It's the holiday season.
It's true. It's the time of year where money can get a little tight for obvious reasons, but that's where Rocket Money comes into play, because Rocket Money, they manage your finances in a way where it won't feel complicated. It won't be time consuming because it doesn't have to be. Rocket Money simplifies everything, making it so easy to see exactly what's happening with those finances, track your spending, and give you full control of all of it right from your phone. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings, see all of your subscriptions all in one place, and know exactly where your money is going. For any of you that you don't want anymore, well, Rocket Money, they can help you cancel those with just a few taps on that cell phone. Rocket Money's dashboard gives you a clear view of your expenses as they go across all of your accounts, and it easily helps you create a personalized budget with custom categories to help keep your spending right on track. See your monthly spending trends in each category, and you can know exactly where all of your money is going. You can get alerts if your bills increase in price, if there's unusual spending activity, or if you're close to going over that budget. The new goals feature that they've got on Rocket Money helps to save money for you as well without you having to think about it. Whether your goal is to pay off credit card debt, put away money for a house or some kind of big purchase, or if you just want to build your savings, Rocket Money makes it easy. They've got over 5 million users, and they have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions across all of those users, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. Stop wasting money on things that you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/PHLY. That's rocketmoney.com/PHLY. rocketmoney.com/PHLY.
Fran, I think one of the more popular comments I've seen about the game yesterday from fans is, boy, were the tight ends bad in the running game. Agree.
They were bad. CJ Uzomah was really bad. Calcaterra was bad as well. He's gotten a little bit better over the season, Calcaterra.
This is like an expectations thing. Like,
yes.
I'm not expecting Grant Calcaterra to be good in the running game.
Yep.
But if CJ Uzomah is on this team,
1,000%.
like, what is he doing if he's not good in the running game?
1,000%. That to me, like, and there are offensive line issues as well, but the tight ends were very bad, in this game. Let's go to which one do we want to go to first? Let's go to
Paralyzed by choice, like you're at Reading Terminal.
Well,
you got so many options.
Do you want Calcaterra or do you want Uzomah first?
Let's do Uzomah first.
Right, Uzomah first. So let's go. Andrew, can you go to Uzomah turn down? Shout out to Rich Kotite's Ghost saying, was it ever available for Kenny Pickett to keep the ball and pick up some easy yards to run those run plays where Washington sent 11 defenders at Saquon? What I found was that they did run a couple of RPOs in the game, okay. And I thought that Kenny made fine reads, and Washington was still respecting the RPO threat.
Okay.
So I don't think that was necessarily something where it's like, oh man, like they really sold out in that way. Now they did bring a lot of bodies into the box, and that forces like one-on-ones, but to me, like this was the Eagles got out executed too often in this game. And so you can see here, you're lined up in the pistol. You've got two tight ends over to the right side. Uzomah is the one that's nearest toward the formation with his hand in the dirt. And what we'll get here at the snap of the ball, this is going to be basic inside zone. Andrew, if you go to the next shot, and you can see you've got the double team from your backside tackle and guard right in the middle of the screen. That's Jordan Mailata and Landon Dickerson. There's your double team. Grant Calcaterra is going to work up to the safety. Kenny Pickett's going to read the defensive end, number 99 there. That's right in front of Calcaterra. CJ Uzomah has to block the linebacker, number 4, Frankie Louvu. And he's going right towards the block to block Louvu. Go to the next shot. He's taking a couple steps. He's on a beeline for the linebacker, Frankie Louvu. I was sitting here in my chair this morning wondering what is going through his head as he like reaches Louvu in the next shot. Andrew, he reaches the next shot and he just makes a hard left turn. And he starts to go block number 11, Jeremy Chin, the same guy that Grant Calcaterra is blocking. So instead of, you get the hat on a hat, Uzomah should be blocking number 4. Andrew, go to the next shot. And I mean, Saquon Barkley's completely surrounded, and it's like, all right, well, that was a complete unforced mental error there from CJ Uzomah. Let's go to the next one. Andrew, if you go to Uzomah blocks Mailata. So this is another one where, again, shout out to Irish Dave 2015, asking just questions about like the RPO and the run game. That was a zone replay where I thought, okay, like you were able to hold that backside defensive end, but you didn't block the linebacker. There were other examples over the course of the game where here's another one where it's going to be a sweep play, and you can see you guys still have 8 guys up near the line of scrimmage here. So you've got 4 down linemen, you've got 2 linebackers, you got a down safety here, you've got the nickel corner. So it's a loaded box for sure. But the Eagles have numbers here to be able to run this, and it's going to be a sweep play to the right. Kenny Pickett is going to read that backside defensive end. Cleveland Farrell, if you go to the next shot here, Andrew, you can see he's starting to read that defensive end, but he's not going to be a factor. Number 1, the corner on the backside, he's not going to be a factor. This is going to be a sweep play where if you look to our left, you can see that you've got Mekhi Becton. He's going to go block Fowler. He's pulling already. He's going to go block Fowler at the defensive end. Cam Jurgens is pulling out in front as well. CJ Uzomah is lined up just inside that defensive end Fowler. He's got to go and block Frankie Louvu on the play side. He's got to get up to the second level and go make that block. If we go to the next shot, Andrew, you can see that Uzomah decide he's going to get up there and I don't think I'm going to make it. So he decides, all right, I'm going to go try and block Bobby Wagner instead. The problem is that Jordan Mailata is already blocking Wagner, and he is like washing him down and basically just saying like, all right, I'm going to block him and just carry him where his momentum wants to go. Because on this run, if Saquon Barkley wants to try and cut back, if Jordan Mailata is washing that player down, well, there should be plenty of space for him to cut back. We're going to go to the next shot, Andrew, and you can see because Uzomah decides that he wants to block Wagner. Look at it; it's right where like the sky cam lines are to the left of the hash mark, where it basically looks like Uzomah and Jordan Mailata are hugging Bobby Wagner at the same time from opposite ends.
How to put it?
Yeah, right. Jordan Mailata is blocking Wagner all the way to our left. Uzomah wants to block Wagner and blocks him into Mailata.
What is he doing?
It creates this collision, and Andrew, go to the next shot. Now Bobby Wagner he basically squeezes out of that, and now he makes the tackle. So often you saw these plays where it's like, all right, so that's Uzomah. I know there were a few plays where, okay, like he doesn't make the block. You go to some other plays here. Andrew, this is a Grant
plays.
No, this is a Grant Calcaterra one. So okay. Yeah, so Andrew, let's go to Grant and Mrs. Louvu one. And this is a lot of what happened in the last game, and this is honestly what I expected to see more often than not in this game when I went back through. The last Commanders game. Sorry, it's the last Commanders game. Washington gave the Eagles offense fits with all the run stunts and the slanting up front, and I thought, okay, that's probably what happened again here in this game. And you could see here that Washington, we've talked about the Vic Fangio and the adjustment that they make where they take Zack Baun, they put him on the line of scrimmage, and that changes the blocking assignments for the offensive line. That's essentially what Washington did in that game and what they've done at times here in this one. You can see it's more of a 5-1 front where you've got Frankie Louvu down off the edge on the right side. He's lined up across from Calcaterra, but late in the pre-snap phase, just before the ball is snapped, Louvu comes in really, really hard on top of Calcaterra. So now he's Andrew, if you go to the next shot, you can see really quickly the picture changes, and he's so fast off the ball, Louvu, that when that ball snapped, Andrew, go to the next shot, he knifes inside, and he gets home for a TFL. And so that one went for like -3 on 1st and 10. So again, it's the first and 10 turns to 2nd and 13. That's not what we're expecting from this group more often than not. During the watch along yesterday, Vinny was saying, oh man, like, why aren't they running counter more? They've had so much success with counter. That was the long touchdown that Saquon had early in the game. The 68-yarder came on counter. The successful run they had in the second half came on counter, but not all the counter runs were good.
Successful run they had in the second half.
Yeah,
like,
they won the one.
Saquon Barkley averaged 1 yard per carry in the second, third, and fourth quarters combined yesterday.
Yeah, there was the one point it was like, oh, he ran for 11 yards since that 68-yarder. And then they ran counter and he got 11 yards on that one. And it was like, that's all right. That's their best run of the last 3 quarters. But I mean, they did run it at times, and they got out executed. Andrew, if you go to Grant, Mrs. Wagner, Bobby Wagner was a force in this game. Like nobody could block him in this one. Frankie Louvu was really active as well. But again, you can see the Eagles lined up, this time in 13 personnel. And you've got Grant Calcaterra to our right, EJ Jenkins and Uzama to our left. And with you can see the Washington responds with a bunch of guys up at the line of scrimmage. But again, they've got the numbers to be able to make this block. Andrew, if you go to the next shot, we've talked about, all right, the big blocks here for counter. You're going to get the first person that's going to be the kick out. Here comes McKee Becton. He's going to try and block Jeremy Chin. You're going to get Uzama coming around. He's going to block number 58, Jordan McGee. But one of in order for those blocks to happen, you need this double team at the point of attack to work. And that's Jordan Mailata and Grant Calcaterra. You have to block that defensive lineman that's across from Mailata up to the backside linebacker. So Grant Calcaterra, he's got to block Bobby Wagner, number 54, who's at like the top of the W on the left, our left hash mark. He's got to get over to Wagner. If you go to the next shot, Andrew, you can see that Calcaterra, he misses Bobby Wagner. So he ducks, he misses, and he gets Olayed, and Wagner's able to get in for a tackle. And so too often in this game, the tight ends just did not get the job done in terms of their run block. This is where they missed Dallas Goedert most. You know, we talk about like route distribution and like, not enough passes going around to other players. And yeah, like they would love to have Dallas Goedert in the pass game, but not having a really good blocking tight end, it's hurting this run.
What about Stoll?
Yeah, like that was, I mean, and even then, like Stoll has been fine.
Right.
Like
It's not
it's not like he's one of the best blocking tight ends in football, but he was their best outside of Dallas. So yeah, that's an issue for them at times.
I guess my question then is, if it was this bad in the run game, should they have come off it sooner? Now the numbers would actually indicate like this was not. I think it was their in terms of designed run percentage. It was 13th of their 15 games this season, 47.9%. On first down, it was 11th of 15 games. Now, part of that is because this was a close game. They've been in a lot of games that weren't close. So it's not like they were just leaning on the run. But when we were watching the game on the watch-along, it did feel like first down run, second down run, third and long. Like, is that the best way to play this game? I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the numbers are the numbers. I think the big thing, too, that we've seen how much did that 22-play drive throw off the run numbers last week, right?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like setting it off in the other way. We've seen, and we haven't seen as extreme like those. A 22-play drive is very, very rare. But because they weren't having success, like I think that kind of affected.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The run game volume and percentages.
So do you think they should have come off it sooner?
I think because of Pickett, like I think you still needed to be able to run the ball. Tough. Like it would be one thing if like, all right, you had Hurts in there, and the run game was this ineffective. Because that's kind of what happened in the first game, where back in Week 11 against Washington, the run game wasn't hitting for the first three quarters, and it wasn't until the fourth quarter when I would say that's if the Eagles do play the Washington in playoffs, we're going to talk about the fact that this defense shut down Saquon Barkley in the run game for 6 out of 8 quarters in 2 games.
So Saquon yesterday, like we were saying, 7 carries for 109 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. 22 carries for 41 yards during the rest of the game. Saquon said this after the game: "They were loading the box. We get it each week. The dynamic of Jalen definitely helps. In our situation, a lot of things we do in the run game are designed with Jalen. It's hard to run the same stuff It's hard to run the same stuff without him. We had to adjust."
Yeah, I think that obviously you take the like they weren't running QB counter with Kenny Pickett, but just based off what I saw on film, like I didn't see like, oh man, like they're not respecting the RPO. Now, could Pickett have maybe like pulled a couple to maybe make them more honest, maybe? But there were plenty of times where I'm watching. I'm like, all right, like I'm watching those backside players to see like, are they not respecting it all? And they're slowing up their way that they were playing. And I think that mostly got the job done. Now you are missing the design QB run element. They didn't do a tush push yesterday. I wonder if that's something where it's like, oh, like we don't feel comfortable doing Pickett. Maybe Pickett doesn't like doing it, like whatever the answer is there. But they had opportunities to do it and chose not to. To me, this was more poor execution. And by the way, it wasn't just the tight ends. Like McKee Becton had his worst game yesterday. Okay. Becton did not play well. I know that Greg Olsen pointed out a couple instances on the broadcast.
Mostly in run blocking
mainly run blocking. But there was that one 1st and 10 play where Deron Payne had a -4 TFL where everyone else is going right and Becton goes left. I didn't put that one in here, but there were a couple other ones where he derailed drives because of the way that he was able to not properly able to execute in the run game.
All right. Well, for those of you watching on TV, Thank you for joining us. And if you want to hear the discussion about how the defense played, make sure you go to allphly.com to check it out. Last thing on offense.
Wait.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to ask a game management question to both of you guys
Sure.
here. I know this isn't one of the screenshots, but the final drive that the Eagles had on offense, what do you think of the way they did it? So because you're competing against the clock, you want Washington to burn their timeouts. So 1st and 10, they had Steen eligible.
Yep.
So there's 6 guys. Jordan Mailata said he screwed up that play there. He said there was
Interesting.
he said he messed up the cadence with Kenny Pickett.
Okay.
And he said that's what caused. So there's a 3-yard loss there. So now you have 2nd and 13.
So Jordan took the blame on that one.
When he took the blame talking to me. Now
Yeah.
I don't know if it was really if it was Pickett's fault and he was covering for Pickett.
Yeah. So they ran the counter play, which that's been a bread and butter play for
And
them.
I do like the idea of going 6 offensive linemen instead. If your tight ends
Yes.
can't block,
Yeah.
We talked about that a few weeks ago. Like they would need to lean into this.
Yeah.
It was during the first Goddard injury that we talked about it.
Mhm.
And I think it's something they should try and lean into more. But basically, they're running counter, and Landon Dickerson's pulling, and no one blocks the defensive tackle in front of Landon Dickerson. So I'm like, all right, like, was that on Jordan or was that on Cam? Should Cam have blocked down? So I actually
Jordan
wrote that in my notes. So Jordan
took responsibility.
Okay.
He said that play, because I asked about the 4-minute offense, and he said he's gonna be real pissed off about that because of that play. So then you have 2nd and 13. Washington has 2 timeouts left. They complete a pass to A.J. Brown for 8 yards. Washington uses their 2nd timeout.
And that's the one where
the
the
shoestring
shoestring
tackle.
tackle. If he beats that,
Yeah. So now there's 2:07 left. Okay. 3rd and 5. 7 seconds until the 2-minute warning here. You can run the ball, force Washington to use their final timeout, or bring it to the 2-minute warning. You can do a quick screen pass there. Now the pass that DeVonta worked in theory, but you don't know if are you okay with that play call there? Would you rather something that forces Washington to use their timeout?
No, I hate playing to prioritize draining their timeouts instead of going to win the game. I thought I liked that play call.
We actually said in the watch along, like, do you go win the game here? Or we all said
Go win the game.
Win the game.
The next question is, are you okay with kicking the field goal
On
to go
Yeah,
up 5 instead of 2? And if this were the Jalen Hurts offense, I would want to go for it. Like I just like when teams you have the ball, go win the game.
Mhm.
In this situation, and the Ben Baldwin 4th down decision maker recommends field goal, I'm okay with kicking the field goal.
Do you hand it to Saquon on 3rd and 5, hoping to get 3 yards to set up a 4th and 2? And then you have the optionality there, because assuming Washington uses their final timeout before the 2-minute warning, or they would actually probably let it go to the 2-minute warning there.
So you're not draining the timeout anyway.
Yeah.
I think with the way the offense was playing, because it was like again, if it was Jalen Hurts, I would have felt a little bit differently. But with the way the offense was going, like I was fine with going for it, going for the first down to try and win the game. And I would have been, if it was 4th and 2, I still think I would have just kicked.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And there is a big difference there between 2 points and 5 points.
Right.
It's not like 3 to 6
Exactly.
because you could still lose.
Exactly.
By the way, so that play was actually like more heartbreaking watching on film of a drop like that. That's just a crushing drop, because so often in this game they did like a motion where they brought DeVonta from one side to the other behind a receiver and they ran like a quick out route, and they start dialing in on it. Where they're starting to jump the out route, and they kept hitting it. Like DeVonta kept getting open. They did it once with AJ and it worked. This time they brought Dotson in motion next to DeVonta. DeVonta looked like he was going to, he's like rope-a-doping the corner where it's like, yep, I'm going to go outside. And the corner starts to go outside and he breaks inside. He's wide open. It's against a blitz. There's nobody there in the middle of the field. I don't know if he scores, but man, like what a crushing drop.
Yeah.
Like because it's not like they were setting it up all day, but it was perfectly dialed up for that to be a big play. That would have won the game.
His quote on that: "I made all the tough catches today, and then the easy one I had, I dropped. Ain't nobody else's fault but mine. Ain't nothing I can do about it now. I just dropped the ball. Yep. Ain't no teaching on it. Just catch the ball. It's simple."
Yep.
It's brutal, and it is like we talk about. Like so many people have a hand in this loss, and I mean but that's the play. Like yeah, they had to win. Last thing on offense, what on the film, the Saquon Wildcat pass play?
Okay, yep.
How did that look?
It was a one-man route. DeVonta's running like he's like as if he's going to block the safety, and then breaks his way towards the corner. If Saquon, like if he was going to throw it, it would, because the corner was just like sitting out there, he would have had to just like let it go early and just float it to the back pylon
Mhm.
and just like let DeVonta go get it. Once he didn't do that, he basically just had to. I mean,
I'm
he
sure
would
he's
throw it
coached.
away or-
Don't throw it if it's not wide open.
Yeah,
That's
so,
what he said after the game too.
There we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
he said ball security there is the most important thing.
Yeah, just the design of it is not perfect to me because
Once
to
Pickett's
me,
not there,
once it's a wildcat play, it's putting up the alert that this could be a pass from Saquon, and then especially if he's not just going straight away, he's rolling out to the right. Like there's not enough optionality there. Like it gives it away too much. Whereas if Pickett were handing it off to him and then he was going to throw it, then it would catch the defense by surprise.
Or even if it was like a late change to like kind of what Washington did on that play where Jaden Daniels and Robinson are in the shotgun and very close to the snap, like all right, they quickly shift and then do it.
Right.
That that doesn't give
and
you
they,
that
again, as we
runway to
said on the
think.
postgame, you're like there hasn't been a snap of Saquon and Wildcat all year, so
Right.
like the defense is thinking, well, what's this?
Something's up.
So yeah, okay, all right. The defense, when we made it
An
through
hour and 5.
an hour of the show and haven't talked about the defense putting up one of their worst performances of the season, aside from the turnovers. Now you get 5 turnovers. No matter what else you do on your other drives, that should be enough to win the game. Obviously, it wasn't in this situation. They gave up 4 plays of 25-plus yards on defense. That's the most since week 1 in that Packers game. They didn't give up a lot of like medium. They didn't give up any plays
That's what was
of
weird.
between 15 and 25 yards.
Yeah.
But those 4 plays were obviously huge in this game. And obviously not what we've seen from this defense all year long.
At all.
At least since before the bye.
Let's look. I pulled one. Andrew, can you pull McLaurin touchdown? And this one was kind of cut and dry. Shout out to Chris Sims Burner on the Discord for asking just about a lot. By the way, like there was people in the Discord like worried about Quinyon. Oh, is this the rookie wall for Quinyon Mitchell? Like he gave up one big catch
to a really good player.
To a really good player. I'm not like I would say pump.
He
the
gave up
brakes
one
on
other
that.
play in the game that was called back for penalty, right?
I think so. Right?
Yeah, I mean, one other play is fine.
Right.
But
Yeah. And then there was the catch on the final drive where he's against McLaurin. It's blitz. It's one-on-one coverage, and he gave up like a hitch for 10 yards.
Yeah,
like,
that's fine.
That's fine. On this play, he just to me, and I'd be interested to hear like what I'm sure Vic Fangio will probably be asked about it on. Was he gonna, I think I speak Wednesday or Tuesday.
I think he'll
Thursday?
speak tomorrow.
Tomorrow. So
Fangio,
I'll be tuning into that to just hear what he says about it. But to me, it just looked like Quinyon played with bad leverage. He's lined up against McLaurin at the top of the screen. It's one-on-one. The Eagles blitz here on this play, and they actually blitzed a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, the blitz numbers were very, very high, and then that obviously that doesn't even count like the blitz exchanges where like the blitz the linebacker and then the defensive end drops out.
Do you think that was a result of the Jalen Hurts injury, trying to do more, or do you think that was just the way that they were playing?
My guess is it's probably the way that it rolled out, because they were doing it early too. I think actually the first play of the game they blitzed. Yeah, Zack Baun blitzed the first play. So that was the game plan going in. Now it's one-on-one coverage, and you can see that at the top of the screen. If you go to the next shot here, Andrew. It's one-on-one, and McLaurin's going to work vertically down the field. Quinyon's playing with inside leverage here, where he should be playing more outside, just trying to stay over the top. And basically, there's only one way he's going to get beat here on this play, and it's going to be vertical up the field. He's got too much space, and Jaden Daniels lets this one rip. Washington did a really good job out of empty in this game. They played a lot of empty. Here, the Eagles blitz against empty and kind of force the issue. And Jalen Hunt, you can see that he's bearing down on Daniels, and he gets a hit on Daniels as he's throwing it, but Daniels just delivers this out to the pylon and lets his guy go get it.
Okay.
Yeah, that was just kind of a tough one. But
how good is Jaden Daniels? How good was he in this game?
He was good. Yeah, he was good. I mean, he had a couple misses. The interception to C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I'm sure he would have liked to have back. But I mean, he had some money scrambles. Obviously, we can get into. But that throw to McLaurin was outstanding. The game-winning touchdown to Crowder was really strong. So yeah, he played well.
Were you like pimp stepping all the way home from the Crowder big game?
No, I don't know why that kept coming up on the show. I don't know why that was the first question to me in the post-game hit. Jamison Crowder's a good, solid player. Made a good, solid catch. I don't think Jamison Crowder was the story of yesterday's game. Good player, though.
Okay. What about the 4th and 11?
Yeah. So basically, Andrew, if you pull up Jaden Scramble, basically on that play, it's 4th and long.
Eagles are up 2 scores at this point,
Yep.
early 4th quarter, and this is like a chance to win the game
Yeah.
potentially. But yeah,
The Eagles, and we talked about this in the last game in Week 11 that they didn't do anything special against Daniels, like we're gonna do QB spy and we're gonna do all that. Like they more relied on their defensive front to play contain, and they were playing zone coverage behind it, so you have eyes on Daniels, and that was the case here on this play. I mean, it's 4th and 11, and they were playing zone coverage behind it. You can see that it's a wide front from the defense. So you have 2-3 techniques and 2 wide 9 techniques here from the defense. And Nolan Smith does a great job of winning off the edge. Andrew, if you go to the next shot, you can see Nolan off of our left side. He beats Brandon Coleman clean, and he's getting ready to go to Jaden Daniels' blind side. Daniels feels that pressure coming, and so he starts to take off. You can go to the next shot, Andrew. As Nolan Smith is closing in, you can see that there's the pathway for Daniels to step up. So the Eagles don't have contain there. Both defensive tackles get washed down just a little bit, and that kind of creates that exit path for Jaden Daniels to escape the pocket. When he steps up, now remember, it's 4th and 11, and so you've got the time for these zone defenders in the back end. You've got 7 guys in coverage to be able to converge, and so you go to the next shot. The guys that have the best crack at him early are going to be Zack Baun coming from our left and Tristan McCollum, who's coming from our right. He's right up the hash mark there with the long arm sleeves. Cooper DeJean is getting blocked here by the tight end. And so the 2 guys that missed the tackle at first are Baun and McCollum. I would put this more on McCollum. He was a little bit over aggressive coming from that side. He took a bad angle downhill. So Daniels cuts off of McCollum and he gets up to the 3rd level. I think they had a shot to get him at the sticks here, and that's on Nakobe Dean. You go to the next shot here, you see that it's 1-on-1 for Nakobe Dean, and Daniels is able to make him miss as well. And so he's able to get the first down. But essentially what you had was that the defensive line, they're going, pin their ears back and go. You had a pass rush win there from Nolan Smith, but he steps up. There wasn't anybody to account for Jaden Daniels, and he was able to make some guys miss at the 2nd and 3rd level.
we were curious in the post game how much things changed on defense without CJ Gardner-Johnson and with Tristan McCollum in there. Did you notice a big difference overall? Aside from this play?
I mean, McCollum. I mean, he got. They went at him on not the game-winning touchdown, but the touchdown after that, or the touchdown before that, rather, down in the red zone where they ran the corner route. That was that to OZ?
Yes.
So to OZ there.
The low one, yeah.
The low one, yeah, exactly. So that one, you could see McCollum kind of got lost in the weeds a little bit on that one. He wasn't terrible, but because that's the thing too, is that, I mean, honestly, like CJ Gardner-Johnson wasn't great in coverage again in this game either. I would say the first touchdown that was to Crowder as well, wasn't it? The very first touchdown of the game on the slant route. That one was, I would put that on CJ. Cooper's passing that slant route off to CJ Gardner-Johnson in the post, and Gardner-Johnson was too worried about like the screen, the stuff going on in the flat, and he let his guy get behind him. So I would say that CJ didn't have his best game, and then McCollum came in and just kind of kept that rolling.
So, I mean, listen, you're allowed to have bad games. You're allowed to have down games. What from this defensive performance is an alert for you and a concern moving forward? And what I guess is just you chalk it up to a weird game. But also keeping in mind this is the team that might have to play again in 3 weeks.
Yeah. Nothing that I honestly feel like, oh man, like this is going to give them problems moving forward because they've been so good for so long here. I don't see anything where I'm like, oh, like that's something I definitely would earmark personally.
Okay, so that feels bullish. Go ahead. Yeah,
I've seen this idea out there that this left them exposed to running quarterbacks. We've seen them play Lamar Jackson.
Right.
I think you play against good players sometimes, and good players deserve credit. Jaden Daniels had a real good game yesterday. I saw an Albert Breer story today that touchdown was something that they put in for specific end of game situations.
Interesting.
And it actually it normally goes to Ertz, but they went to Crowder in practice during a red zone period this week. Jaden Daniels said, quote, "It's set up perfectly. We did the same play in practice, same route, right behind the linebacker in 2 high coverage. That was my first read pre-snap from what I've seen. I'm going to go right here and trust in him to make a play."
Yeah, I didn't think anybody did poorly on that coverage play. I think that was just a good route concept to attack it.
I also I mean, listen, they had a chance to win the game. You want to make that stop. We haven't even talked about special teams yet because they did not have a very long way to go. But I do sort of get the human letdown of like you had that same situation and you made the play to win the game when Slay bats it up and Reed Blankenship gets the interception. Like that should have been the
I thought that was a
game-winning
good point you made on the
defensive
post-game
stand.
show.
Like,
That's the play the defense made. Defense got you the ball back right there.
Yeah.
So
like,
DeVonta
and
makes
so
that catch. That
Yeah.
you have to go
makes
out
that
and do
catch.
it again.
Yep.
Like that's tough.
That's why you can't go 55 seconds. The offense can't give the ball back in
Right.
55 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, I got to
Okay,
get
I know you want to go to
for
Nick
it.
Sirianni before we close. The special teams, we should talk about it.
Yeah.
What?
He's starting now.
I said go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Merry Christmas to all. Happy holidays to all.
Okay. You want to see a guy fluster, Darius?
I was flustered in the beginning. It's only right.
Yeah, I mean, the special teams is tough. What are we doing on kickoff coverage?
I mean, they said after the game that it was weather, but it didn't seem to impact Washington's kickers.
No.
So I don't know. But I mean, look, the coverage was bad. Like the kicks were short. The kicks were certainly short. Now, were they short by design or were they short by weather? But either way, I mean, the average starting field position off kickoffs was I believe the worst of the season. And then when you look at just that final drive, like rather than them starting on the 30 or starting at the 43, you spotted them a first down. And I know that's the goal for a lot of return units. It's not necessarily like score a touchdown. It's all right, get our offense a free first down. Get 10 yards, get 10 plus yards that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise, and that's a win. And you were able to give that to them more often than not.
Pulling up Nick as well. All right. Anything else that you want to get off your chest here? These two teams play again in 3 weeks. How do you feel about the matchup?
I feel like how I felt going into yesterday, honestly, which I feel like they should win and win comfortably. I think that ultimately it was a bad game from everybody didn't have their A game, and so it just resulted in a not great performance.
Okay. Well, see how they respond.
Yeah.
Good test. And as we talked about, a nice, interesting test for the head coach this week. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was going to say the only other thing I had that I wish I would have rolled it for Zach, but the forced fumble that Jalen Carter had, awesome heads up play. It would have played great for his article last week. So
That's true. He did nail that.
Talk to him about it later.
Okay. Now, programming wise, no show tomorrow, no show Wednesday. We are back on Thursday in studio, I believe. The three of us again, and then we'll have Daniz in studio as well on Friday before taking you through the kickoff show, watch along, and post-game show on Sunday, 1 o'clock game against the Dallas Cowboys. So Eagles chasing hope for the 1 seed, but an interesting week to see what happens at the quarterback position, and then potentially locked in for the 2 seed after that. Everybody, please do enjoy your holidays. We'll talk to you on Thursday. Thanks to Andrew for making it happen today. Thanks to Zach and Fran, and especially to the sickos in the chat. We will talk to you on Thursday. And as always, we love you.
We all silly like the mayor.